We're here to talk about some folks who are about to be part of your world as we look at the Marvorren expansion for Gudnak. I'm Brandon.
And I'm Jordan.
And this is Optimal Play. Chaotic Great Games was kind enough to send us some preview cards for the Marvorren expansion of Gudnak. For anyone who has stumbled on this video, Jordan, we want to summarize what Gudnak is?
Yeah, Gudnak is a two-player card battler, actually 2, 3, or 4-player card battler game that takes place over about, supposedly, 20 to 30 minutes for a game. In it, you'll have a deck of 20 cards, mostly with creatures and a few with like spells, and you're essentially trying to siege the opponent's gate, which means milling out their deck and then standing in front of their gate, saying, I win, and then you win.
Yeah, it's actually...
Is that a good summary?
We have, out of camera on the table, we have the playmat for it because we plan to play it after recording this.
Right.
So
you can play, this is the two-player side. You've got the
Yeah.
two gates here, and like the decks go here, and then on the back side is the 4-player side.
Yeah.
And the new expansion introduces a new 3-player map.
It's very much in the same realm as Summoner Wars or that type of thing. But it has a really different kind of flow than any other card combat game I've played, and a different win condition. Like, I like the spatial, like you're trying to, it's a little King of the Hill, like you're trying to occupy a space on the opponent's back line as sort of your goal.
Right.
It's a cool game. We've played a couple times played a couple times on the channel and a couple more times off the channel. And we're excited to look at some cards for it.
Right. So this new expansion is the third wave, I guess, of content from Chaotic Great, and it introduces one new faction and then has cards supporting the other 6 factions that have already been introduced. And so we're spoiling some cards from the new faction, who are the Marvorrens.
Yeah.
And they are mer people / werewolves / sirens /
right.
cultists. So
I know. I think before we started, I was saying like, man, they have a lot going on, aren't they? They're like, they are inspired by mermaids, but also they have cults, and they turn into monsters.
Right.
When the
with
moon
the full
is right.
moon, right? Yeah, exactly.
They infiltrate the surface-dwelling civilizations. It seems like we have a card that really is a pretty funny like nod at that. And,
right.
Yeah, it's.
And they sing siren songs, so they have all those bits all mixed together in a kind of fun potpourri. Like, I think it's a cool set of aspects to this faction.
Yeah, it's like, I feel like, I guess there's not going to be another underwater faction in Gudnak because they took every underwater thing and put it in this
It's an interesting idea, yeah. What would they do? Maybe like sea creatures or something, like instead of mermaids, like man bat, like the shark-headed person.
Maybe they go deeper. It's like the deep sea. Like,
Sure.
Gudnak is about how each of these factions is responding to this world's sun dying.
Right.
And the deep sea ones are just like, there was a sun?
Right, they don't care.
They don't care.
They're like, well, no, now they're actually swimming upwards because the world's getting darker, and so they can take over more territory.
Hire Chaotic.
That's great. Oh, man.
Just
There's
designed
a bunch of fish
content.
with like the lights on their heads.
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, anglerfish.
Anglerfish monsters and octopi and giant squid. You could okay. You know what? Yeah,
I like that.
Plenty of content. Plenty of fish left in the sea.
Plenty of fish left in the sea. That's right.
Okay, so one of the cards we're talking about, it was like an Optimal Play exclusive, and the rest are also some cards that
We're going to talk
will
about.
hopefully be fun to talk about.
Yeah.
So in a stupid little YouTube short I made in the hot tub on the weekend, I unveiled Empress Liara, who is... The end of that sentence was going to be where she fits into their story or something. I don't actually have that information. Do you have any idea? She's an empress.
I don't know where she fits into their lore.
Right.
No, I have an idea of where she fits into like their card pool and mechanics.
Sure, but that's
separate.
That's separate.
She is clearly an empress. She's sitting on a throne. She has a scepter with a pearl in it, like a giant pearl it looks like, and there's coral all around her.
Yeah, and I think she's military-ish because... Well, why don't I read her card?
Yeah, why don't you do that?
Yeah, she's a 3-power hero. She's also a soldier, right, is the sword trait. And she has the ability Crimson Omen. When she enters play, put Blood Moon beside your stronghold. We'll come back to that in a second. and an ability called Aegis. Is that how you would say that word?
Aegis.
Yeah. If a fighter you control entering or leaving play causes an ability to resolve, you may resolve that ability in additional time, which I believe is a kind of wordy way of saying like double comes into play and leaves play effects.
Yeah, it's interesting because I wonder if there are like tactics that it might double as well. Like remove from play a unit if you do this thing. I don't know.
I don't think that a tactic, even if it does cause a unit to enter or leave play, if that is a fighter entering or leaving play causing it.
Okay. You might be right.
Yeah.
You might be right.
Yeah. So, let us know in the comments if we're misinterpreting this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's potentially pretty cool. It's definitely, as anytime we are previewing cards in a card game, we don't have all of the context. And in Gudnak, at least so far, and with the upcoming kind of draft rules and exception, I think, there's no cross-contamination of factions. So it's not like you can take this with the Delguan demon or something and double that. So we don't have a lot of context. But any time that you're doubling something in a card game, it's often very powerful.
Yeah, it seems quite good. Yeah.
Yeah. And
which is probably one of the reasons we should just say like they don't do this cross contamination, because they can design all the Marvorren cards with this ability in mind and balance them around that.
Yeah.
Without having to do that for all the other factions.
And even so, given that at least so far the pattern has been that the existing factions all get more cards in subsequent expansions, like this Marvorren box is going to have content, I think, for all 6 existing factions. So they have still already boxed them into having to design future cards around this.
Right.
In a way that would make me nervous as a designer, but luckily I'm not a designer.
There you go.
So it's not my problem.
Yeah.
So there's more going on. You want to explain the Blood Moon to us?
Right. So the Blood Moon is one of the Marvorren's moon cards. And we should say all of the 3 heroes, I think, at least 3 of them, come with their own Blood Moon.
All the 3 heroes, meaning the 3 power.
The 3 power heroes, right. All of the 3 power heroes come with their own moon. They're not all Blood Moon. There's Blood Moon, there's Harvest Moon, there's another one. And what these cards do is they're little timers. So once you put the hero into play, the moon comes and sits next to your stronghold. At the start of your turn, you rotate it 90 degrees. Once you've done that 4 times, something happens. Right. And in this case, after 4 rotations, you flip the card over, and it replaces Empress Liara. And the card it replaces her with this is the back of the Blood Moon, is the Leviathan.
Right.
And so this is a 4 power, not a hero, just a 4 power creature.
I have not delved too deeply into the cards outside of the starter decks for deck building thing, so it may exist, but I've never seen a 4 power card. So right there, this seems nuts.
Yeah, the only ones I've seen, I think, are in the Marvorrens. So it's a new, but I wonder if they're going to introduce them for all the factions in this new box.
I doubt it.
Well, not all of them, but maybe they'll splash them around. Anyway, so this is the Leviathan. Mm-hmm. It is a 4 power fighter that may take actions while fatigued. So when you bring it into play, you got to act with it twice. But then at the end of your turn, it swaps back to being Empress Liara.
Right.
And my reading of this swap is that I don't know if this deploy action triggers on a swap. I'm not sure if the Blood Moon comes back and would again start taking down. So it could be every 4 turns you get this. It could be just once per game.
I had kind of assumed that it was every 4 turns, but you're right. Nothing clarifies that I'm seeing on these cards. And frankly, I don't think I've ever seen a fighter last 8 turns in Gudnak. So
that's fair. Yeah.
I'm not sure it's even all
might
that
not
relevant,
matter. Yeah,
relevant one way or another.
Yeah.
A game of Gudnak is like not even that many more than 8 turns. And since things, like, it's not like things take damage over a period of time. They're like either alive or dead.
Right.
I think my expectation is that it will actually be sort of a rare treat when she even reaches 4 turns and flips.
Oh, interesting.
But it's pretty cool because the Leviathan also can take actions while fatigued. So which it almost needs to.
Yeah.
Like otherwise it's
underwhelming.
Pretty difficult to accomplish much with it. It needs to be able to like move and attack, or best case scenario, kill 2 things. Right.
Right.
Or I mean, I guess it could attack, move into that square and attack again too.
Right. It can. Yeah. It can do the double attack. But like the issue is that when you put Empress Liara on the table, you've immediately got a clock running, a very public clock.
Yep.
your opponent has to find a way to deal with this before the timer runs down. Or B, they just have to make sure that they're not in a position where you can really use this Leviathan turn to great effect.
Right.
If they can just avoid that and make this Leviathan either move once or maybe kill one thing that's like not a 3, like kill a 2 or something, you probably don't feel too bad about that.
Right.
You know?
And you learned about these other moons from the Team Covenant content. I know
Right.
you said you watched. You said like all of these moons that are sort of the timer mechanism, they're all associated with level 3 heroes.
I believe so.
That
So
you're aware
I
of?
only
Okay.
saw one other one. It was Scylla, and the moon put into play Charybdis, which was a level 4 stationary monster that could not take any turns, but lasts as long as the game, effectively. And you have to find ways to make your opponents attack it.
Right.
Because they'll die against it.
Right.
But it won't
Or
do
just
anything on its
occupy
own.
or nothing else that occupies the space and
Right.
is practically invincible.
Right.
But yeah, I imagine that there are cards intended to interact with it.
Right, exactly. So those are the two
yeah.
I've seen, and I've seen a picture of a third moon, which I think was the Harvest Moon, but I haven't seen the hero or the effect of that Harvest Moon.
So yeah, I was trying to picture whether when you play as a Marvorren you're going to have like multiple moons all going, like whether it's a whole engine but it sounds like maybe since you only have one level 3 hero in your deck, maybe you just kind of have one moon.
I think
that
that's
is
right.
the one your deck
I think
uses.
you'll just have that one, yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Very cool card. Great art. I love this Leviathan monster with its like pearl that I think kind of, I don't know, I'm not sure if it's a pearl or what, but you can sort of see a crescent like in its heart area in its
Right.
chest that reminds me of the staff that the Empress carries.
Yeah. It's the Iron Man.
Yeah, right,
So-
right, yeah.
It could also be, if you go back to the Empress's art, it could be like here in this little set, there's a tiny little stone
Oh, that's true.
in
Yeah,
her like center
Yeah.
cavity there. Maybe the gold recedes and like the stone
That's true.
pops out.
Oh man, we are making giving me a lot of post production work by going back and forth talking about these. So
Oh,
much.
sorry. Yeah, okay.
No, it's all good. Okay, we know of a couple other cards too that we thought would be fun to talk about, like the diminutive Marvorren.
Sure.
She's a level 1 hero.
Yeah. You might call her a little mermaid.
That's ridiculous.
Why would you say that?
I don't follow.
You don't see it at all?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't track to me at all.
Right.
And I have no idea why her ability is called "Look at this stuff."
Right.
But what
And
it
relates
does-
to playing tactics, which in the Marvorren deck are songs. Anyway.
and she's visibly singing
She's
here
visibly
too.
singing,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. No, I'm sure there's no relation to any other characters. Anyway, when you play her, she looks at this stuff and lets you play a tactic with X in its ability without paying its action cost. Add 1 to X when resolving that tactic.
Mm-hmm.
And lucky for us, we have an example of just such a tactic.
Exactly.
In the Marvorren faction. Why don't you tell us about the Aria of Aggression?
So this is a 1-cost tactic that says, as an additional cost to play this tactic, fatigue any number of ones you control, then target enemy with X or power or less attacks target friendly fighter that is adjacent to it, where X is the number of ones you fatigued. So, really quickly, what the diminutive Marvorren does is lets you play this for free, because you remove the action cost, and then it acts as if you exhausted her, effectively. It gives you +1, even though you can't fatigue her.
Even though, she's a 1, so if she's already in play and you play this, you could use her. You could just, according to the text of Aria of Aggression, she could contribute to it.
Right.
But she also effectively contributes to it.
Right.
When she
and
enters play.
I'm guessing that's a theme for these Arias. This is the only one I've seen, but I'm guessing that many of them operate by exhausting ones.
Yeah, I mean, there's not all that many. Like, Gudnak's not a complicated game.
Right.
There's not that many things I can think of as a way of, like, generating what X
Right,
is,
yeah,
right?
sure.
It could be, like, the number of units with a certain trait you control. Like, there are certainly other examples, but I would not be surprised if this is if this is the theme, and then you're supposed to sort of, like, have a swarm of ones like a school of fish or something.
Right,
like,
there you go.
Right?
I like that. And so-
powering these arias, yeah.
Right, and so this card I think would really synergize well with Charybdis. That was the thing I was talking about before, where if you play this with the diminutive Marvorren and exhaust 2 additional ones,
Right.
you could get a 3 on the board to suicide into your Charybdis which is
Yeah.
a massive.
Yeah.
a massive
Anytime you can use a tactic to take a 3 off the board,
pretty good.
Incredible swing.
Right.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
So I think that's like the best use case for this card, but I'm sure there are other use cases.
And even absent that specific card, you will have 3s in your deck, and taking out a 2 with this, like using a 1-action tactic, or if you've just played the diminutive Marvorren, a 0-action tactic to take out a 2, still pretty
It's
good.
not bad.
Yeah.
The other use case I can imagine for this is having a 3 kill a 2, moving into a space next to another 3, and now it's exhausted, and then you play this card to force them to trade.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And then you're getting kind of double value with your 3, and you're getting that
right.
3 off.
So you're suiciding your 3, but you're taking two
taking
things out along the way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway,
That's cool.
It's cool. Yeah.
And then the one other thing I think, based on the cards that we're talking about here about the diminutive Marvorren, is that if you have Empress Liara in play, you can do it twice.
Right.
I was
saying before.
I was saying before we started rolling that like the likelihood in this game of you having the specific Empress Liara on the board, diminutive Marvorren in your hand, 2 tactics with X in their abilities ready to play that will be effective on the board state seems like an impossible dream, but it is a nice dream.
Yeah, there's this
Pleasant.
whole idea in card games of like Voltron, where you're like trying to build towards this incredible hand and then like use it to kill your opponent, and that seems hard in this game because the effects don't seem like interrelated enough and strong enough to like make that really work. But maybe this will be a cool Voltron strategy where it's like, you're building towards those things, and then you can really do something great.
Yeah, the nice thing about Gudnak for that is just the 20 card decks that you generally draw all of in each game, right? So card combos that you really, I mean, you're setting yourself back in other ways by not playing your cards, right? by hoarding them, or if effectively you're like, okay, every time I draw the diminutive Marvorren, the card that gets the card name that gets harder to say every time I say it for some reason. If you want it to just sit in your hand until you get the other parts of your combo, then you're effectively playing with a smaller hand, right? And maybe just getting crushed as a result. So whether it's a good idea, I don't know, but Gudnak does open the door to like really chasing those combos and getting to piece them together in most games.
Right.
Yeah.
While still having the counterplay of potentially milling the deck and hitting a key combo piece.
Right, yeah, right. Yeah, then while you're hoarding all these cards, you're not controlling the board, you get sieged, and the Empress herself gets milled from the top
exactly,
of your deck.
Then you're screwed, that's cool.
One more card. Have you seen this person before?
I have, and I think that there are actually no basic ones in the Marvorren faction.
Oh, I didn't realize that this isn't a hero.
It is not a hero.
So this is the totally normal villager.
The totally normal villager is all of the ones. All of the basic ones.
I'm sorry, you're saying there are 10 totally normal villagers in the Marvorren deck?
No.
Oh, all the ones. So there's
right?
four.
Right. So
yeah,
four totally normal villagers in a Marvorren deck.
That's so weird.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of strange. So like the totally normal villager's ability says you may deploy 2s or 3s on top of this fighter. If you do, return this fighter to your hand.
Nothing to see here. Yeah.
So nothing to see here. And this is the idea of they're in hiding. They're totally normal villagers. Don't worry about it. And then suddenly something pops out of their clothes. Right.
Right.
So I don't know why you want this. I think there is a reason. I just don't know what it is.
It's hard to wrap your head around.
Right. It's like I guess you're in theory, it trades with another one. So like you can defend a spawn point where you can defend a square in your back row with this one.
Yeah.
But because it says you can deploy on top, it's not like you could move it and then deploy it to further on the board. It still has to be in your back row. So what does this really accomplish?
Are you sure?
That is how they played it on the Covenant stream.
Okay. I actually thought that this did let you move this forward and then deploy where it stands.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
Then I would understand this card.
And that would be, I think, the flavor here, right? And what I know about the Marvorren is that they, like, infiltrate the surface dwellers, and, like, that is kind of infiltration and then ripping off the disguise, and surprise, it's the Empress! Like, that feels like what that's meant to be.
I honestly 100% agree. That makes perfect sense. If it's that, this is cool.
Yeah.
If it's not that, what are we doing here? You know what I mean? Like, and I don't know which way it is.
The one other thing I guess I can say about it is since it's not traded, it sits outside of the like rock paper scissors. Like it can't be taken out by a one that has the trait that gets a bonus against it, right?
It trades with every one, and it loses to every two.
But those ones that it doesn't get crushed by would also fail to crush the 2 or 3 if you were to just to play it. Yeah, I think these must move across the board.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. You know what? And honestly, reading this card now, the only question is what the keyword deploy means.
Yeah. Right, like it...
Because I'm not sure if this is rule-breaking text. You may deploy 2 or 3s on top of this fighter. It could be because there's no symbol here, and you're normally not allowed to do that.
Yeah.
Or it could be
so I can see how you'd read it that
right.
way.
So
But, like, imagine a card that says, you may deploy 2s adjacent to this unit. Wouldn't you expect that doesn't mean adjacent to this unit and in the back line?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah. So to me, that's how I interpret it here, too, is that this is expanding your options for deploying units.
I don't know.
I don't know either. Interesting.
I didn't get this from nowhere. It was I consumed some Covenant content. I think this was said. Now, am I sure that this is right? I'm not.
Yeah, I mean...
Because my instinctual reading of this is the same as yours. You can deploy on top of this regardless of what it says.
All right. Team Covenant, if you're watching, stop watching. Team Covenant makes mistakes sometimes. They're not perfect. I watch these and other content, and they get things wrong sometimes. So it could be that they're wrong about this. But you know, if other whether it's the designers or just fans of the game who know better than we do want to clarify in the comments for us, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I honestly wish we asked before.
Yeah,
right. Yeah, because oh man, I regret it. Anyway, we're not going to refilm it though. So
no.
It is what it is.
But the one take rule applies no matter what.
Yeah. But honestly, I could see this being extremely cool if it's like it lets you smuggle up these guys and deploy, further up on the board because it lets you hold back information about which 2s and 3s you're going to deploy until later.
Okay, here is one. If it is only backline that you can place them, here's one other reason for them, I guess, is that they power up RAO aggression.
But that's true of anyone. Anyone would.
Right.
I'm not saying there's no reason for them to exist. Why do they have this text on them? Yeah.
Anyone would, and then you could just play something on top of it. Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's also possible that because of the blood moons or the moons and like other aspects of the faction, that
this is actually meant
stronger
to be weaker,
and this is meant to be weaker. And that's a cool design, actually. I think that's fine if that's true.
That's a good point.
It might just be that these are meant to be a balancing thing.
Yeah. All right. Well, let us know in the comments how we're wrong. Confident we're not exactly right.
Right.
It's about the only thing I'm sure of.
I agree.
Well, that's it. Those were the cards we have in our digital hands on this iPad to talk about. I think it's a really cool, thematically cool faction, gorgeous arts.
Yeah.
Like I'm not 100% sold on the mechanics, but actually that's what happens a lot in Gudnak, is that I read a deck and I'm like, how is this supposed to play? And then I sort of figure it out the first time I play it, and then I finally figured out the third time I play it.
There you go.
I feel like it's sort of like it's for a game that does not have a lot of rules baggage, it's pretty challenging to grok sometimes.
Right. Even though it's like relatively simple. It's similar to some of our favorite games like Guards of Atlantis in that way.
It's true.
The rules are really simple, but understanding the cards and their interactions can be complicated. I'm excited for this faction. I'm excited for this box because it's going to bring more cards to the factions we know and love. And it's really good value. Like I should say, like it's $40 for like a new faction and a bunch of new cards for other factions. And you can get more stuff and spend more money, but like,
do they make you buy sleeves with this one?
They make you?
Team Covenant, I think, only sells Gudnak in bundles with sleeves.
Oh, no, on the Kickstarter.
I just always thought that was weird.
I don't think you have to buy sleeves. No.
I mean, it makes some sense because they're square cards, so like it makes sense that if people want to sleeve their cards, they provide them because they're not.
And I love that they have the faction symbols on their back.
Sleeve.
Like I paid extra for that.
Oh, that's right. You bought the fancy ones.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, this is fun. Thank you for chatting through it with me.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching. Thank you, Chaotic Great Games, for providing us with a preview that we had fun revealing. And we'll be back soon with more. We're going to show down the previous 2 expansion factions. soon,
Yes.
I think. The Rotborn and the Oroxy.
Roxy, yeah.
Yeah. I've played the Oroxy once and like didn't get it. That's when I was saying that it takes a couple plays to grok a faction in this game. They were the ones on my mind, so
That's fair.
I'm excited to dabble with them some more.
Yeah, I want to play them too. They seem cool. I like the idea of attachments, so we'll see how they
Right. Okay, well, that's a video then. If you haven't liked this yet or subscribed to the channel yet, we'd really appreciate it. We have no Patreon or anything. That's the one way to support Optimal Play. And if you liked listening to Gordon,
It's okay.
where did that come from? I've known you for years.
You've known me for a long time.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah.
Well, if you liked listening to Gordon,
It's brought me back to the days when people would call me Gordo from like the Lizzie McGuire show. You know?
I can see it.
Yeah, there's like they're like Gordo. I was like, don't call me Gordo.
No, I think where the Gus sound came from was that I was going to say you can hear more of Jordan on the Game Brain podcast.
Right. Where tomorrow I'll be recording an episode, and one of the games that I plan to discuss will be Gudnak.
Oh, wow. Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, tune in.
Along with Guards of Atlantis and Shatterpoint and Civolution.
That's quite an agenda.
There you go. I have an agenda.
All right. Well, watch out for the Game Brain agenda, and we'll be back soon with more stuff. Till then, be optimal.